Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the firing, the summary unlawful firing of a very highly respected prosecutor in the Southern District of New York, Maureen Comey, who, as the name suggests, is also the daughter of former FBI Chief Jim Comey. And this is a tangled web which goes all into the muck and mire of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal that is currently raging in MAGA land. All right, let's start with Comey. As I say, she's a veteran of the office. I've talked to a number of people who know her. She is top drawer, totally respected, has gone to great effort not to profit from her father's standing or previous standing within DOJ and the FBI. Just a complete pro. Why is she fired? Well, it doesn't hurt, of course, that she's the daughter of Jim Comey, who is persona non grata in the Trump camp from the point at which Trump tried to bribe, intimidate, probably commit a crime in exacting a loyalty pledge. Remember, after Comey left, he had taken all the notes, and Trump suggested he was lying, and Comey was, lordy, lordy, I hope they have tapes. You know, it all turned out to be completely nefarious and corrupt on Trump's part, no surprise. And then in different instances since then, including recently when, after he said something critical, the administration had him tailed the way you do a serious criminal about to commit a crime. Complete abuse and politicization. Back to his daughter. So she has this lead role in the Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell case. You remember it almost certainly. Epstein is the disgraced financier who ran this fantasy island where he brought in all these rich, famous people with tastes for gross, sordid conduct, supplied by his stable of young women, largely starting with massages and going to horrific and criminal places. That has been the Jeffrey Epstein case, and the allegations of what happened there has been for some time a huge obsession on the right in MAGA land, with the same crowd that, for anyone remembering back a couple years, was so up in arms and, best anyone can tell, concocted out of whole cloth the Pizzagate conspiracy, which was fueled by the conviction that a pedophilia ring, somehow involving, of course, Hillary Clinton, was being run out of a pizza restaurant on P Street in Washington. And the crazier the details seemed, the more convinced and resolute were the whole MAGA crowd. All right, Epstein hangs himself in prison, and that's nothing like the suicide, which DOJ has confirmed as a suicide, although there's great suspicion that he was offed by people who didn't want anyone to know his secrets, but to generate extreme suspicion that there's a lot of secret stuff out there, a lot of names, not excluding Donald Trump, who it's quite clear did have some encounters with Epstein, and some think was among the clients who were a series of high-profile figures. Alan Dershowitz was one, though he says he never did anything untoward, etc. But it's a who's who of people whom Epstein, as smarmy as they get, was basically running his business on the goodwill, created by these, absolute little Sin City retreats on his friggin' island of disgust. Okay, so Epstein commits suicide, and there's always been great suspicion in MAGA land that he takes a lot of secrets to his grave. And for some reason that I have a little trouble completely analyzing, this is a great obsession to know the facts here. And so Pam Bondi had said on TV that, there are other files here. She'd certainly suggested it. Elon Musk had, Alan Dershowitz had, and the like. And then when push came to shove, the DOJ said, oops, we were just kidding, or in fact, there is no extra info, including no list, the magic list of the Epstein clients that the MAGA crowd is very eager to get its mitts on, and again is, persuaded is, as a basic matter of fundamental justice involving pedophilia that is being suppressed. Okay, back to Maureen Comey. She prosecutes Maxwell, convicts Maxwell, who's sort of the aide-de-camp, you could say, of Epstein and the main purveyor. She sort of gets all these girls and kind of, prepares them for their professional, disgusting duties on Epstein's island. And she's convicted of 5 of 6 counts. But there's a count in which she isn't convicted. It's pretty standard in that situation to at least preserve the ability to retry her. They got a pretty big sentence. My best guess is they won't, but it's conventional operating procedure to keep that alive. And what does that mean? It means that all the information you have about victims and witnesses, you want to keep separate. You want to keep under seal or confidential, because witnesses, especially in a high profile, weirdly, politicized case like this, witnesses could be harassed and otherwise, pushed to testify, not to testify, whatever. And it's confidential information anyway. So on that basis, Maureen Comey has kept some information from the trial under seal, because that's what you do if you care about law enforcement, which is what she is doing here. In fact, let me go right now to a very eloquent and kind of DOJ forever letter she has sent to her colleagues just really minutes ago, and read just a portion of it. She says, does Maureen Comey, fear is the tool of a tyrant. And that's an obvious reference to Bondi and Trump and her being fired. Wielded to suppress independent thought, our thought doing our job as prosecutors. Instead of fear, she turns around this moment in a pretty inspiring and sort of DOJ forever way. Let this moment fuel the fire that already burns at the heart of this place. This place meaning SDNY, before these creeps, cretins, and criminals came in. A fire of righteous indignation at abuses of power, which, starting with the Adams case, just top to bottom, it's been just one abuse and politicization of a place that, I say again and again, people so treasured working at, so value, so care about. Of commitment to seek justice for victims. She puts that in there, and that underscores what all these violations of law and the regime of firing people, which I've talked about before, but there's a whole kind of series of protections they're just trying to ignore. who's the ultimate losers for the abuses they're doing, victims of crimes, but all of society. That's who is getting really kicked in the teeth. Justice for victims of dedication to truth above all else. What more can you say? This is the gang that wakes up lying and lies all day. So Comey strikes this blow, and that is there are two headlines here. One is the headline of her being fired, and just another outrage and absolute attack at shot at the heart of the bone marrow, the DNA of the Department of Justice, of doing justice without fear or favor, just completely trammeling it. And then second, in this bizarre way, we have this Epstein scandal continuing to burn. And, there's been nothing but legal violations, norm violations, etc., by DOJ all the way through. But this is from the home team, and they are really obviously consternated about it, and B, so far unable to shut it down. Trump said most recently, why is everyone paying so much attention to it, and proceeded to suggest that it's all the work of, Democrats and Jim Comey. And Bondi is a figure already of suspicion by this real, total core MAGA crowd, because she wasn't forceful enough in saying the election had been stolen. So there's just all this kind of suspicion, and to my mind, a lot of conspiracy theories of the sort that how can you defeat? So now you have Maureen Comey, who is sort of a sacrificial lamb here, and is served up. But given the nature of the Epstein part of the scandal, I don't see her firing being enough to quiet the drumbeats from MAGA. That's going to continue. If DOJ is telling the truth, and you have a lot of people saying they're not, which would be just unbelievable in and of itself. But if they are, you have this deep problem of how to prove a negative, that in fact there's nothing there. And it's hard to know, with the sort of degree of obsession, what makes this kind of subdue and go away. You have the Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, kind of up in arms and in a mortal battle with Pam Bondi. These guys don't care about anything except Trump's fortunes, and now this. So this is going to be going on, bizarre and convoluted and kind of crazy as it all is. So Maureen Comey, another blow against the professional DOJ, but she goes out strong with a really good letter that becomes part of the annals of history of what a total bunch of lawless thugs and cretins the Trump team is. And then Epstein, to me, more fuel to the fire, and who knows what the end point is of that. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.